Morning gang, welcome once again to Hollywood Hills. Now, as promised, last week we were out at the final round of the Farm Jam. We gave you a little bit of a teaser, and since then, me and the boys from LiveX have been burning it up, going blind, trying to make sure this edit is rock and rolled. Coming up, this is going to be episode 1. This is going to be for the quads and the juniors, so check it out. Hope you guys love this, and we'll come back in the studio once you've finished enjoying this one. Have a great time, grab a coffee, check this one out. All right, Steph, so final round of the Farm Jams, and like we were chatting off camera, not too many wins for you, but you're bringing home consistent finishes.
Yeah, it started as a training just to train, and then with consistency I end up there where I am. So today I'm just going to enjoy it and have a fun day.
The Farm Jam is very fun. Hopefully it's not too sandy. Hopefully it's nice and fast.
Bruno, on the Bobcat 65s, you are the man. You pull the hole shots and you'd be able to run out front. But we've got a different layout of the track today, so how are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling very excited and I want to drive it very bad. Yeah.
The juniors, I think we got their track dialed in really nicely. They're going to do a nice technical section for the first 5Ks of the loop, a fast section for the last 5Ks of the loop. So I think this is going to test the juniors completely throughout the whole day. They got 2 hours to race, so I probably think they're going to do about 8 laps. I think this is going to be good racing for them today.
A new feature for Farm Jam number 6 for 2019 was going to be a new start gate, taking the riders straight into the MX track.
We've been starting at the same spot for the last 9 years. I think putting them on the motocross track, trying something different for them as well, I think they're going to enjoy that part. We made the loop a little bit more faster, flowy for today. I think last time we nailed the hammer on the technical stuff. This time they're going to go out, fast sweeps, fast turns, and I think it's going to test the riders in their speed today.
We do see guys using Farm Jam as practice, but the track is very fast. They've gone from technical to a wide open one today. You've got to feel good about that.
Yeah, but there's a few technical points that I see. But I will definitely, anyone that wants to race, start at Farm Jam. This is where I started, this is where Johan started, everybody started here. And you get something of everything. You get 4 sections, you get everything.
Farm Jam, once again, we come back race after race here. It's good practice round. A lot of guys see it, this is just another farm event. It's not, this is good practice area because it's got a bit of everything.
And tell me about the championship. You're coming into this round 6 points ahead, so it's not done and dusted. You still got to finish inside the top 3.
So if I do finish inside the top 3, I'll be very happy.
Checked on the points as well. Only 2 points between you and the competition in your class, so you've got to win this one.
Yeah, I'm going to win this. I know it.
Supreme confidence for Bruno Niebuhr. He was going to be in a stack gate as well. 13 kids taking up the final gate for 2019. When the flag dropped, everyone was going to be once again chasing the back wheel of Niebuhr. On point, he took the big hole shot. One of our winners on the season as well was going to be locked and loaded. Rechard Webster was there to pick up the pieces. And watch out for Fellon. That's Mitchell Fellon, Mackenzie Bam, and Katsavis. They were going to be in the chase group as they fed their way out of the big track onto the mini motocross track. A little step up kicker and then into the forest. Hole shots, as always, were going to be key. On the 50cc Bobcats, Jean-Luc van der Vesthuizen, brimming with confidence, got the big hole shot at the final round. It was going to be his championship rival, Matty Meyer, doing the chase down in the number 2 spot. And again, a very strong field of riders. No one could really decide who was going to be able to walk away with this one. We knew a championship was up for grabs, so there was a little bit of tension in the ranks. Onto the quads and a small gate off the pro ranks. Steph Bester hit the front early on with only 4 riders on the queue. Louis Roos was there, but he stalled out off the line and he was going to have to do a come from behind ride on lap number 1 just to try and get his way up the traffic. Juniors went right, quads went left onto the big testing 24k loop. Further back in the queue, the Masters got a chance to move up the order as well. It was going to be all about the big guy, Kurbis, trying to get the job done. But this time around, Jaco Krikke got the best of him on the hole shot. So it was going to be Kurbis sucking a little bit of dust early on as our master racers went out there to try and chase and see how many pros they could gate. Further back in the amateur classes, Donny Joubert and the big 4x4 pulled the hole shot with Johnny Horsforth doing the chase down. But remember, it was Christian Ferreira who was our championship points leader, and he just wanted to get a top 3 finish. He got bogged down off the line outside the top 5, so lap number 1 for the Ferreira kid was going to be testing. The Weekend Warrior Gate gave us 4 of the very best going out and do the chase down. JD Pretorius got the hole shot as he has done so many times this season. Clayton Puerta was on his wheel with Reinhard van Josveld and Etienne Roberts, and they were going to go out to see what they could do. Remember, it was on for a predicted 5 laps of racing. 4 guys on the queue for the Weekend Warriors, only 3 podium positions. On the ladies' gate, as she has done throughout the season, Heidi Ferreira dropped the hammer hard. Elby Pretorius on the Kawasaki was going to do the chase down, along with Rihanna Blomoff, Judith Krikke, and Izan Zietzman to see who would be the top ladies come the final event. We went into the pits to chat to a couple of riders to see what they thought of the new start line scenario.
I prefer this way because you can settle a bit before you get into the, there's space to settle. Find your position and settle.
But really nice, something exciting.
That side, second turn, you're in the dust, you're in the trees. This is much better. I hope they give us the start more often.
On track and on course, as always, Bruno Niebuhr has it locked and loaded. He was styling it up on the big track and the mini bike track before he went back out onto the main course. Remember, our juniors were on for a 10-kilometer loop. First 5Ks were very tight in the forest, and then it started to open up. No problems in the dust for Bruno as he started to extend away from Reinhard. Reinhard looked like he'd had a crash early on, a little bit of a tweak on his handlebars, and he was still flying as hard as he dare on the Kawasaki to try and pick up the pieces. Mitchell Fallon was locked into 3rd place. He'd had a ding-dong dice in the early stages to try and stay ahead of Mackenzie Bam, who was trying to charge her way through. She'd get blocked out on the hole shot as well and had to climb up from 7th. She eventually was going to get up into 4th place on the queue. Would she have enough time to chase down a podium? Big story in our 50cc Bobcats was a lot of chopping and changing inside the top 3 and the running order, and potentially the championship as well. Derek Milan had hit the front and was starting to extend away. Remember, John Luke had walked away with the hole shot. Now, the championship leader, Matty Mayer, was in the number 2 spot. That was guaranteed locked up for the championship as long as he could stay there. John Luke van der Westhuizen was in 3rd place after his hole shot. He had dropped down a couple of places but hadn't lost too much time on the road. Still, the top 3 were separated by less than 40 seconds. And there was a new kid to consider as well. Matthew Kribenau, 4th on the road and his first time out racing farm jams. Back into the quads, and the big story was the Stef Bester show. One of the most, if not the most consistent riders on the Farm Jam Tour was running off the front and extending. He was already light years ahead of the rest of the field. The big story was 2nd place. There'd been a change-up, and it looked like Louis Roos had got his bike started and was starting to close things down. In fact, by the end of lap number 1, had got almost within a minute of the back wheel of Stef Bester. So the big story was Louis was charging hard. He'd made 2 big passes out there, with Rowan de Toy unable to complete lap number 1 and Stefan Ferreira only completing lap number 1, which meant there were 2 pros banging it out, and Louis had the charge on to try and see if he could get up to the back wheel of Bester. In the Masters, a great story was the fact that Kurbis had got himself up into 3rd overall on the road and was running away from his closest rivals as far as the Masters Championship goes. Remember, this guy has won every single round of the Masters Championship in 2019. His closest rival, Krikke, who pushed him wide out of the hole shot queue, was running in a number 2 spot and doing a great job to stay ahead of Emil van der Merwe. The track had given all the quad racers an extremely equal mix of flat out and technical, and it was just nothing but smiles for miles as the wind picked up and kept the dust to a minimum. In the amateur quads, even though he had come off the gate inside of the top 5, he'd had to fight through a lot of traffic. Christian Ferreira was now on point. He was a standout breakaway championship points leader coming into this round, and now he was looking for his highest ever overall result. As far as his category went, his closest rival, 2nd place on the road and 2nd place in the championship, was Big Johnny Horsforth, who found the more flowing track much more to his liking than round number 5. Derek Erasmus was trying to pick up the pace and cover 3rd place because himself and Donny Joubert were locked in a battle for the final podium placing at round number 6. All 4 of our weekend warriors were still in it to win it, but it did look like JD Pretorius had this one wrapped up. Styles for miles out there as he enjoyed the show. Clayton Buerta, one of our most consistent and improved riders on the tour, he had second place in the bag. He had a big lead over Reinhard van Jaarsveld and Etienne Roberts, who were in a locked dice to see who would take the final podium placing of the last event. Even though we didn't have the overnight rain, the dust was still not too bad and able to go racing clean. In the ladies, the big story was Albie had now taken the lead. The big change-up was Heidi had some problems on laps 2, allowing 2 riders to come through. Rian Blomhoff was now in the 2 spot, with Heidi on the comeback trail, trying to stay ahead of Judith Kricker. So it wasn't decided. Certainly, the final round of our ladies quad championship was going to be a nail-biter. And of course, Izan Zietsman was out there riding for Nico. Down in the pits, half the race done. Couple of riders having issues.
I got stuck on the start line and managed to catch the first couple of guys in the first 5 kilometer mark. Started pushing really hard. Lap 1 went well, lap 2 went well. Just when I went out for lap 3, I started getting some feeling problems. So it was running and stopping, and just up until it was complete end. It's not getting any juice.
Tough situation for our quad racers, but back to our junior event where Bruno Niebuhr had absolutely dialed in this event. In fact, the speed of our top 4 kids pushing out from a 8-lap race format for the first time, 9 laps, showing how fast the track was running and the pace and speed of our top warriors. Richard Webster had solidified his number 2 spot. A problem on lap number 1 though, where he had that crash, had unfortunately dropped him off the back wheel of Niebuhr and the win. He was now just going to have to defend the number 2 spot ahead of Mitchell Fellon. Fellon is a tasty rider, a little bit too big for the 65s, so excited to see if he's going to stay on those 65s or move up to the next category. At the flag though, it was once again a flag-to-flag victory and the final win of the season, and a confirmation of the championship to Niebuhr. Webster came through and Fellon, so our 1s, 2s and 3s were locked and loaded. Inside the top 5, this is how it broke down. Niebuhr beating out on Webster and Fellon, and Bam also getting herself up there into a 4 spot and staying on the lead lap ahead of Katsavis and Morrison. A sad story in our 50cc Bobcats, Matty Mayer, who just needed a top 3 to tie up his championship. With 3 laps to go, his machine cried no more, and unfortunately that was the end of his race and the championship as well. Commiserations, Matty. There's always next season though. Out front, the big story was Derek Milan, with 3 laps to go, had been closed down by a resurgent Jean-Luc van der Westhuizen, so it was on heading into the final couple of runs. Van der Westhuizen also had his issues towards the end. He hung on to second place, but the final win on the season went to Derek Milan, and with it, the championship. Van der Westhuizen did a good enough job to get his number 2 spot. That would also give him a number 3 in the championship come the end of the season. Great racing from our 50cc Bobcats and a nail-biting end to the season. On the final podium, it went like this. Milan ahead of Van der Westhuizen. Krippenau, new blood, getting his number 3 spot at the first time of asking, ahead of Aiden Nell. JG Kutsia and Manny Mayer still scoring a number 6 finish. Back on track, and the quads was all about the Steph Bester show. He had been the most consistent rider on the season. This time he was the fastest rider on the final event, running the full race distance. In fact, the only quad on the event to run full quad racing distance. He certainly got his training in, got his money's worth, and he saw the checkered flag for the final time, where it looks like he is stepping out of quad racing onto 2 wheels. So he takes the big high five and the applause. Incredibly enough, Louis Roos, even though he only completed 2 laps, did enough to get second place on the day, ahead of Stefan Ferreira, with Ruan de Toy unfortunately no score, with only half a lap completed. On the Masters situation, the story was Jaco Kricker, one of his most aggressive starts, but he still had to settle for a number 2 spot, staying ahead of Emil van der Westhuizen. The story was on the Quad Masters, as it has been on the season, the whole way through 2019. Cobus Ferreira, once again for Busman Racing, was the man that saw the checkers, but also tagged his highest ever overall finish. So confirmation of the Masters at the final round, Ferreira ahead of Kricker, Van der Merwe and Gloy.
The day went well. I had some problems with my front shock on the last lap, but otherwise the day still went well.
For the Ferreira clan, it was going to be a great day and a great season as well. After making all of his passes on lap number 1 to get the lead in the amateur category, Christian Ferreira was running the numbers. In fact, so good that he was able to pull out, by the end, a 10-minute lead over Johnny Horsforth. Johnny had a great day in the saddle, though, and had a consistent run. No issues on the machine, even though he said he had his suspension set a little bit too soft for this one. Still did a good enough job to get a number 2 spot and cement his second place in the championship. He was doing a good enough job to stay ahead of Derek Erasmus, and in fact only the top 3 completed the full race distance for them, which was eventually a number 4 bagged and tagged. 7 started, only 5 made the full race distance. Christian Ferreira takes his number 1 spot in the championship with his final win, beating out on Horsforth, Erasmus, Joubert and Bester.
The loop was really nice. The rocks was tricky. Little better than the previous race. Otherwise, it was really a nice track. Some technical, there were some straights. Gave us some time to relax.
For the weekend warriors who no doubt absolutely loved the terrain that was set out for them at the final round of the Farm Jams, it was all about the whole shot once again. JD Pretorius ran off the front and actually was able to run a 5-lap race format, beating out the rest of his competitors down to a 4-lap racing format. Clayton Berta, we've seen incredible results and consistency coming in from him. Once again, he was able to run in a number 2 spot the whole way through the day, staying ahead of his competition. At the flag, though, it was all about JD beating out on Clayton, and then Reinhard van Jaarsveld ahead, taking the final podium position. Remember, 4 started, only 3 were going to take the cream on the top steps. Confirmation of a 5-lap racing format for Pretorius, ahead of Berta, van Jaarsveld and Roberts. And our final category was our lady racers. Remember, it was Heidi that pulled the big hole shot on the 4x4 Can-Am, but early on lap number 1, it was Albie that came through on the Kawasaki and dominated off the front. Second and third were this close the whole way through the race, though, and certainly up to lap number 3, where we saw Heidi now move up into second place ahead of Rihanna Blomhoff. Later in the lap, Blomhoff did actually have a crash, but still did a good enough run to get and cement her 3rd place. The final flag, though, went to Albie, with Heidi moving up to 2nd place and also confirming her championship status as number 1 lady for 2019. The final event went like this. 4 laps completed by Pretorius and Ferreira. Very close run at the end as well. 3 laps completed by Blomhoff and Kricher, and 1 lap by the Flying Zeetsman. Next week, it's bikes where it gets busy. Stay tuned and enjoy the shows. All right, so that was the championship wrapped up for our juniors and our quads. And as you can see, a little bit of late event drama as well for the juniors and the quads. A lot of guys suffering mechanicals. And incredibly enough, just so you guys know, the rain that was promised to us on Farm Jams the night before only arrived after. Literally, I think we were in 5th gear by the time the storm came on the way home. But it's cool to get the rain up there for the farmers up in Middelburg. So if you love that, then you're going to absolutely die when you see next week's show. So we're going to go into a full edit once again. We may be able to deliver a little bit earlier, so watch out for social media on that. But coming up will be show number 2 from Farm Jam 6, which is going to be all about the bikes. That's what we're going to focus in on for now. And after that, Hollywood is going to be building up, getting ourselves ready for 2 major international events. We're going to focus in on a preview of the 2019 running of the Roof of Africa, as well as look at some of the South African superstars going across the pond in 2020 in January to race Dakar. For now, hold your breath. Show 2 for Farm Jam 6 is just around the corner.